Hello, everybody. It is Press Buttons. Welcome yet again to another episode for the Tech Podcast with Press Buttons. I'm so glad y'all can be with me today. So today we're going to be talking about something relatively, something that y'all may not actually have expected from me as a podcast, but we're going to be comparing different GPS apps. The three top ones. The three top ones are Waze, Apple Maps, and Google Maps. So the first actual digital map, like mapping, like GPS map, was actually MapQuest. It first came out in 1996, which I think is very, very advanced for, which I wonder how people actually got from place to place. Maybe you had to look at it ahead of time. And then next was Google Maps, came out in 2005. Then Waze came out in 2008. And then following Apple Maps came out in 2012. So Apple Maps is the newest one. In MapQuest, I just looked it up. It looks like it's you choose a character, it looks like. And I mean, I don't know if it looks cool, but like I just don't know. I just don't know if it's very active, really, because it says 4.3 stars, 20,000 ratings. But if I were to like go on like Waze, for example, it's got 3.1 million. So I feel like Waze is actually going to be more active. So we're going to start talking about which one's the best and compare all of them side by side, besides MapQuest, because we're just doing the three main ones, which is Google Maps, Waze, and Apple Maps. We're going to be going over all of them so that we all, in case y'all haven't decided for which one you want to do, then you'll know exactly which mapping app we would like to use. Waze, Apple Maps, and Google Maps, the three mapping trio. This is, at first I just want to tell you which one do I use when I drive. The one that I use, and I think it's the best one out of all of them, is Waze. I think Waze is truly something that it's incredibly customizable, and I'll explain more on that in just a little bit. So let's go and compare everything. So Waze is best for real-time driving and community alerts, okay? Apple Maps, it's for iPhone users who value privacy, and it has a clean design, especially with their new iOS 26 update. It has the liquid glass layout UI, so if you like the liquid glass, then yeah. Google Maps has its versatile navigation, which has their walking, driving, and transit. Waze, very strong, community driven. This is for traffic and incident reporting. It's very strong, community driven, hazard, police, and accident reports. You're probably wondering, what does it mean by community driven? Basically, what that means is the community, basically people that use Waze on the road, they literally report everything. So really, basically Waze depends on the drivers to report for everything, which isn't very, very hard to do on, like, in the car, you have, like, the radio thing or whatever. It's not very, very hard to do. Really, it's not super distracting. You want to be sure that you keep your eyes on the road, of course. And I just looked up you're probably wondering, how does Google Maps and Apple Maps know, and ahead of time, there's going to be traffic? Basically, how it knows is, this is what it says on Google. Google Maps and Apple Maps know that there is traffic by crowdsourcing real-time data from users' smartphones and combining it with historical traffic patterns, often using AI to analyze speeds and predict future conditions. When users have their location services enabled and are using the apps, their GPS data, speed, and location is anonymously and encrypted shared to build a picture of current road conditions. They also incorporate incident reports from users and sometimes use third-party data from traffic sensors or providers. Basically, how Google Maps and Apple Maps know about traffic and all that great stuff is basically uses the data from your phone, because I know it sounds scary, but it's anonymously sent, I guess, to their servers, and then also predicts, it knows it remembers its historical traffic patterns, so that way it kind of estimates where and when the traffic will start, and also will predict how long you're in that traffic. I don't think Apple Maps knows, how long you'll be in traffic. I know Google Maps and Waze knows. I don't remember about Apple Maps. If it remembers, all I'll see is just like an orange or yellow line. And Waze knows. It kind of depends more. It still uses kind of the same method as Google Maps or Apple Maps. Waze is owned by Google. First of all, Waze is owned by Google. So basically, Google I feel like it's a really good, way to have, Waze and like Waze on my Google because they use Google Maps. So I feel like that's good to get the most reliable, or not get necessarily the most, but the data. Because I feel like Google Maps, I feel like once when that came out, I feel like that's what, like GPS and all that great stuff has started, like becoming like more popular. I don't know how popular it was when MapQuest came out. I still haven't. My grandfather told me about it one time, but I'm curious. I wonder how people. I guess they use it on like a personal computer, I guess, and then they were able to, kind of memorize. Okay, at this slide I'll need to turn here. This slide I need to turn here, and I'm sure probably they come out on like the Blackberries and stuff later on. Waze knows traffic by combining anonymous speed and location data from its users, like we've already said before, for Google Maps and Apple Maps, and also from it. So it combines both of that for that information, tracks it from its users' phones with user submitted reports, road closures, and other hazards. So not only does it combine the anonymous speed and the location data, it also combines those two with people with the community that report for incidents, accidents, road closures, and other hazards. So that's really, really cool how the maps are able to do that. So next, routing and rerouting. Waze, it's aggressive, dynamic rerouting around delays. And then Apple Maps is reliable, especially in cities, more consistent routes. Then Google Maps is predictive and AI enhanced routing, very consistent. Waze, so for offline maps, it's very limited. It's basically going to requires internet for, traffic or rerouting and everything. Apple Maps, it does have offline maps. It supports offline for certain areas, which I don't think that's really true. I think you can basically crop. It's basically how it works. Kind of like how you crop in a picture, kind of. But it shows the whole United States, and you choose, where you want. You can't make it like cover the whole United States, but you can have it cover. Like I was able to cover most of my state. And then it will download it, and then if I have no data, if you are in that area where it's offline and you still have data or you still have internet, it will still use your data. But if you don't have any data, cellular data whatsoever, then it will actually then use it offline. So just because it's offline doesn't mean you can use it offline whenever you want. It has to be offline. You have to be offline in order to use the map offline that you chose. Then for Google Maps, it also uses offline maps, good offline support for navigation. So offline maps is really good, especially for like an emergency. Maybe there's some emergency that's going to happen, and maybe you have some, maybe there's no data, and maybe there's some sort of emergency that you need to get to. It will be able to use that for you. Now, I do have Waze and Apple Maps installed, but my main one is Waze. But I will use Apple Maps for offline maps because I do go to a beach every year. My dad has like a trip that we go to every year, and it's at a beach, and there's not very good service depending on where you are at. So if we need to find where to get back where we are, I can just pull up Apple Maps. It also does have biking, walking, and transit and all that. Google Maps and Apple Maps have that, but Waze does not have that. So the only thing that is focused on is driving. It is not focused on transit, walking, or biking, which I kind of do. I do hate that, but I mean, I'm sure at some point they might come back and do that, but I don't know. We'll have to find out if they do that or not. So for Apple Maps, it does have transit and walking, and it's improving city coverage. The Google Maps, it's very strong transit, walking, and biking support. And what I do like about Apple Maps, the one thing I really like about Apple Maps is the integration with your Apple Watch. So let's say maybe you have a navigation, for example. Maybe you're navigating to Disney World, for example. If I put the navigation on my phone, it will also put the navigation on my watch as well, on my Apple Watch. So, and also not only that, if I'm like, let's say maybe I'm lost, or something, like, let me just turn off my phone for a second. I'm literally just going to shut off my phone, like, fully power it off. And then I'm going to turn off the Wi-Fi on my watch. So now it's going to have literally no data whatsoever. And let's say maybe, because everybody uses their phone more than their watch. So your watch is almost, depending on which watch you have, it's close to guaranteed that your phone will die before your watch. And that's happened before. My phone has died before my watch has died. So And I have the Apple Watch Series 8 and I have the iPhone 15, so which is pretty interesting. So right now, if I look in my control center, there's no data on my watch whatsoever. I don't pay for cellular on my watch. I only have the Wi-Fi GPS. So I turn off the Wi-Fi, shut off my phone, so now it has no data whatsoever. So it's basically useless. But if I go to Apple Maps, I can go ahead and search for my house. And so let's just put it as going to school. How about that? So that way it's not, And it does show that it is going to use offline maps. So I click on the destination. The only thing I don't have is that I do have the thing where, like, I know how to get to school in the morning, but I drive on a highway that is very busy in the morning. So usually I have my maps open. Like I have, like when I drive to school, I have my Waze open, but I turn off, I have the alerts turn on, but I turn off the actual turn my turn directions. Because I know how to get there. I just need to know how much traffic there's going to be and what time I'm going to get there to be sure I get to class on time. So basically, I click go. Oh shoot, there was just a way to mute it. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah. So it literally just started. So I don't. Yeah, so y'all didn't hear that, but it just said my street. But basically, it will navigate me turn by turn to get there. It will. Now you do have to turn on a setting to make sure that it does sync from when you do a offline map on your phone to make sure that it does the offline map on your watch. Now, I don't know. I didn't see an option, do like walking or transit directions on the watch. So let me check out and see if I can do that. If you can do that. It says you can get walking directions on an Apple Watch using Apple Maps, which provide turn-by-turn guidance with both audio cues and haptic feedback. Okay, so, and here is also something too. I went out of state and I went to Hilton Head with my friend. Hilton Head, it's great. It's in South Carolina. It's great. Y'all need to go check it out. And we were going to a movie theater. We found a local theater. It's small, but it was pretty cheap, which is good, but it was a small theater. But we decided to go to a movie, and we had bike rental, so we had the bikes rented out because we were there for the whole week, the whole week from Monday through Friday. And I think we left Saturday. And basically what we did is we drove is we wanted to get to the movie theater. So what we did is we biked, and I was able to put on my Apple Maps, and it guided me on how to get there, and it did really good. And it did the special, did the turn-by-turn directions, and there is bike trails throughout the whole Hilton Head property, so that's really good. So it was able to guide me on that bike trail the whole time, which is really, really good. There may have been like one or two times, I think it may have been once that we had to cross a public road, but I mean, that's no big deal. I mean, there's really going to be no other way to get to it. So I am still trying to figure out how to do, basically, but let's say your phone is on, right? If your phone is on and your watch is on too, the turn-by-turn directions will come through your phone and not your watch, but the watch will tap your wrist, and it will also make a little sound. Now, I will say, Waze probably has the most amount of things you can report for, such as, police. Apple Maps does not let you report police, which I do kind of hate that, because if someone's speeding, I'm not saying I speed, but I'm a good driver. But if someone were to speed, they're not going to know that a police is there, especially a hidden one. Like I was going home on the highway, and I saw on my Waze it said hidden police ahead, and there they were. There's a hidden police clocking people, and I feel like that'd be bad for people that are speeding, because I wouldn't have seen him if I didn't even know he was there. I would have never seen him. He truly was hidden, so I was like looking out for him to see if he was out there. Because if he is out there or not, I do say yes or no. I'm able to do it because I'm an Apple CarPlay, so I can say yes or no if he's still there. So yeah. So next, the user interface for Waze is bold, alert, focus, and gamified. Which I'll talk about the gamified part in a second. And for Apple Maps, it's clean, minimalist, and very Apple native. So if you're in the Apple ecosystem, it'll be like the Apple UI on your iPhone or Mac or iPad or whatever. You'll like it. And I like it. I like the layout of it too, especially with the new liquid glass design. And then finally, Google Maps. It's data rich, layered traffic, satellite, and business info. Now, the ecosystem integration. And I already talked a lot about Apple Maps really already, so we can go ahead and just kind of not skip it, but So for Waze, the ecosystem integration, it integrates with Spotify and like other music media like Apple Music or Pandora, iHeartRadio. And also, you can also have it on Auto or Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Apple Maps, you are able to use it. It's deep iOS integration. You can use Siri with it, which you can also use Siri for Waze. Like I've asked navigate to school on Waze, and it says getting directions to school using Waze. And it's on CarPlay only because Apple Maps is only on iPhone. So good luck with that. You don't have if you don't have an iPhone. And then Apple Watch integration, which I've already talked about which is probably one of the coolest parts of Apple Maps. And then finally, Google Maps, Google services, search, calendar, Android Auto, Google Assistant, and it's also available in Apple CarPlay. And then next, Waze for the privacy and data handling. So Waze shares location in real time for crowdsourcing, anonymized but less private. Which, I mean, as long as your data is shared anonymously, I don't see really a huge problem for that. In Apple Maps, it is very privacy focused, many tasks done on device, and uses random identifiers. And also, there's no ads, but apparently there are some rumors that Apple Maps will be bringing ads. And people are really not very happy about this, because the good thing about Apple, like for Apple TV, there's no ads on there. For Apple Maps, there's no ads on there. But now it seems like for Apple Maps, apparently there's going to be ads that are apparently going to be adding. And then Google Maps collects a lot of data. So Google does really track you, okay? I mean, we've known that for a long time. Collects a lot of data for personalization and ads. So, and I want to say something too. I don't have a debit card, but I did. I did have a debit card, but it just kind of stopped. I was acting weird, so we deactivated it, and I'm still waiting to get a new debit card. But what happened was, I searched up like top 3 debit cards, for example. And then one of them said Wells Fargo. So went on Wells Fargo website, instantly just gone off the website because I just thought it's not going to be anything. I'm not going to understand half the crap that it's saying because, I don't understand a lot of banking stuff because I don't have experience in that. And then I went on YouTube, searched up a video, and started watching, and the ad that comes up is Wells Fargo. I feel like I have seen Wells Fargo ads before, but not that instant. So that just shows you that Google's tracking you. Then for news, and just some new features in 2025 for Waze, it's still leaning in real-time incident reporting, heavily relies on community, like I've already said that before, which I'd rather a mapping app rely on a community than, I'd rather prefer it being for community, rely on community than, traffic patterns because it could be wrong. Sorry, I'm coughing. There's something in my throat. But like I've already said, if I can say it this time, I like how Waze relies on the community rather than, traffic patterns because Apple Maps or Google Maps could get that wrong. So the good thing about it is that it relies on the community, so that way it's the most reliable, if you understand that. So basically, I like it to rely on the community more because it sounds more reliable because it's happening in real time. And Apple Maps and Google Maps is kind of more guesstimating, which it is. It does get it right, but it does still kind of guesstimate. But it does guesstimate. Like when I was going to school one time, there was traffic, and I was sitting in traffic, and Apple Maps didn't show there was any traffic until like a few seconds later, or like a minute later after I was sitting in traffic, and then it just added the orange line. But for Google Maps, it doesn't have a problem with it. Kelly, I have tears running down my face, coughing, and now I got a runny nose. How great, especially during the podcast. It's Apple Maps, for a noteworthy feature in 2025. It's using a look-around imagery to train on-device AI. It's basically kind of like, like doing turn-by-turn directions, but in IRL for augmented reality. And then next, Google Maps. Google Maps is getting AI upgrades for Gemini for more intuitive navigation, landmark-based directions, proactive, attractive traffic alerts. And then next is the data or battery usage. So Waze, it's high because it's constant reporting and updates because it's based on the community. Apple Maps, it's limited reporting, it is moderate, efficient, and on-device processing. For Google Maps, is medium to high, depending on the features used, offline, live traffic AI. And then user reports and community features. Waze, of course, you guessed it, very active, road hazards, police, construction, etc. And I think and like I've already said before, Waze definitely has the most amount of things you can report for. Apple Maps, it's limited reporting but growing. And like I've already said before, Apple Maps doesn't have too many things you can report for. And I don't see any reporting on there either. So, and then Google Maps, it's moderate reviews, place edits, and some instant reports. But Waze is the highest active. A reliability, Waze is excellent in urban high user areas, weaker where there's few users. Apple Maps, it's very good in cities, somewhat less in remote areas, and then Google Maps is strong everywhere. So yeah. So summarization here. If you want the most up to date, road traffic, police, construction, if you want the most up to date and very frequent update, then I suggest using Waze. If you're someone that loves to be in the Apple ecosystem, which I do, and I don't use Apple Maps, but if you love the Apple ecosystem, you just don't really care about that, then go with Apple Maps. If you want to go for the most reliable for like rerouting or, reliability for navigation wise, which I'm not saying all these are reliable, okay? But the most reliable one out of all the three is going to be Google Maps. So if that's important to you, use Google Maps. But I do want to tell you a few things about Waze that y'all probably haven't noted, and things that make you want to go to Waze. Waze, you can customize your own navigation voice. So basically, if you go to Waze and you go to your 3 lines on the top left, then go to settings, then go to voice and sound. Then if you're on Waze voice, you can click Waze voice, and then you can add a voice, and you can literally record yourself saying the lines, or maybe a family member or a friend. So you click add a voice, then you have to record, you name it, and then you have to record all these things, like, for example, all set, let's go, we're all set, let's go, start driving, let's get started, drive safe, all set, let's hit the road, you ready, I am, let's go, we're ready to roll, drive safe, have a pleasant drive, okay, here we go, in 1.1. It does take a good while, it takes about probably 20 minutes, or maybe less to record everything, so it does take a little while, but it is truly really, really cool. Another thing is, for voice and sound, is that they do add, celebrities sometimes, like they have Christiana Algeria, or I don't remember how to say her name, but basically you can have her as your voice, like a clown, you can do a zombie, you can do the Jonas Brothers, you can do the Ghostbusters, you can do Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus, Jennifer Hudson. They did have World of Warcraft Master Chief from Halo, Paddington, Mr. Wolf from the Bad Guys. They did have one guy, and his name, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm sure y'all know who he is. He was on here too, but I don't know if, I guess they may have removed him, but I thought he was really cool. But, you can do Sonic, but here's something I will say. You can do Wizard of Oz. What I will say is, if you don't have, if you do like a voice, like such as like, Paddington, like a named voice, or like Mr. Claus or Santa Claus or whatever, they will not include the street names, the default names. So like Lisa, Jane, Ben, or Sarah, those are the default Waze voices. Those will include the street names. So you like street names, don't do it. But I think it's really, really cool to have. And then also you can customize what you want your car to look like, your little arrow. So like I have it as a red car because I have a red car. I have a Mazda 6, and you can do a little emoji kind of thing. So like you can it's called pick a sidekick. So you click 3 lines, go to pick a sidekick, and it's called your mood. Your mood is basically the person that is like your little emoji kind of thing, and it appears on the road. So if you're on the road, you will see these little faces. Those faces are they call them Wazers. Wazers are the people that are using Waze and are on the road. And it says right now, 2,507 reports around you. And it said 55. Did it say 55? I think it said like 5,000 Wazers around me. So that's good. Here's what you can report, because I'm telling you, you can report a lot of stuff. If you report, you can also say what you see ahead. So if you click so basically what you can do is you can actually tell it what you see, like police or whatever, and it will automatically report that for you, because that can make it safer when you're driving. But there's traffic, police, crash, hazard, closure, blocked lane. There is map issue, bad weather, gas prices, roadside, map chat, or a place. Which I think is really, really cool. And you go to police, you can say police, mobile camera, hidden police, other side of the road. Now, something I will say, something really good for Apple Maps is that whenever I am in the car in the morning, it remembers usually where I go every day. So let's say I'm in the car in the morning and I'm driving off. It will Apple Maps on my Apple CarPlay. It will say drive to school, and it knows that I go to school on that day every morning. And when I get out of school and get ready to go home, it will tell me and say, want to go home or drive to home? And it will tell you how to get home, which I'm not saying I need to know how to get home, but it's a suggestion, which I think is really, really cool. So, and even if I'm like at a grocery store, at a store or something, when I get in the car, it says drive to, home or whatever. I don't think really Waze does that, which, I mean, I think it's a nice little thing that they have, but, I mean, it is what it is. But anyway, so that's going to be it for today, everybody. Thank you all so much for listening to... Yeah, Waze does. So it sends me a notification at the time, usually around the time that I leave, and it says this amount of minutes to wherever, to school or whatever. I have it under work. I need to change that because it did say school does count as work for me, really. I will say that. But anyway, guys, so that's going to be it for today, everybody. Thank you all so much for listening to the Tech Podcast where press buttons. I hope you all have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.